Hello! So I decided to write another tag video. I haven't written one in a while, and I decided this was a good one. So I've been talking a lot about books, and I decided why not talk about it with other people. So this is so that we can know about other books, other recommended books, and just talk about them because obviously I like books. So the classy title I have decided is Recommended Witchy Books Tag. I know, it's so catchy. It's 13 questions. Let's jump in. So question number 1, what was your first witchcraft book? My first one was one that I found at the library. Ironically, I haven't tried to re-find it, so I don't even know if they still have it. Hopefully they do. Maybe I should find it one of these days. But it was called Everything Wicca and Witchcraft, and I remember that immediately I knew that it wasn't what I had just recently been taught like a few days before because my friend had told me a little bit about stuff and it didn't match up exactly. Shockingly, maybe a 13-year-old did not know everything about the craft to be teaching another 13-year-old. And so, like, nostalgic-wise, I would love to reread this one. Number 2, what is your favorite witchcraft book? Now, this doesn't necessarily mean, like, it is the best, most recommended, but, like, what's your personal favorite? And my personal favorite is a classic. It is Wicca, A Guide for the Solitary Practitioner by Cunningham. That was, like, my first, like, wow book. It's the first one I bought. And like, I love that book. I love his style. I love how he questioned things. Like, it just holds a special place in my heart always. And every time I reread it, I still love it, which to me proves like it's still a good book. Number 3, what is your top 3 recommended books for beginners? Obviously, Skye Cunningham's book. Obviously. Then we also have Inner Temple of Witchcraft by Christopher Penczak. It's a very dense book, but if you go through it and you do the whole year and a day, all the steps, you are well on your way to becoming a witch. Like, it is phenomenal. And the last one is a new title. It's the one from Deborah Blake. I think it published last year. It's her eclectic witch book. I will have them all linked below with the like authors and everything, so don't feel like you're like, oh my god, what are you talking about? It's down below. But I love a lot of really any of Deborah Blake's would work, but that one in particular was just a good intro book. Number 4, what is your top intermediate to advanced book? Now honestly, having intermediate to advanced can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people, but I personally feel like having a vague idea of what's going on and then jumping into Triumph of the Moon is a good option because like, it's a lot. And I feel like it might disillusion you if you're still like brand new and you're like, oh, this is so cool. And then you're like, oh my god, that's a lot to read. Maybe give it a little bit of time. It's also really heavy. Like, it's not like a hard book, but it is kind of a hard book. Like, you just plan some time for that one. You gotta read every single sentence. You cannot skim that book. He really packed a punch with every single word in there. Truly, I think he could have written it to be the size of It by Stephen King and still not fit everything in that book had he been given that option. And so because of that, like, I feel like that's a good intermediate to advanced book, but I would also recommend it to beginners, but like maybe after you've read the beginner books. Number 5, what upcoming witchy book are you looking forward to the most? So this is one that is currently not published. So my personal favorite, I think it comes out this month, or maybe not this month. Next month, like September, I think is when it comes out. I can't be certain though. I probably should have looked. I know it's this year and it's like the end of the year. And it is Scott Cunningham, The Path Taken. This is a book written by Scott Cunningham's sister. And I listened to a podcast that did an interview with her and it was so good. She talks about kind of how she decided to come up with this book and talks about like the behind the scenes of like all of who Scott Cunningham was and like obviously some of the impact, but from the perspective of his sister. And she said that she had other like authors contribute a little bit. I don't know what else to expect from the book, but I'm excited for that one. Number 6, what is your go-to book for spells? So pretty much for me, any of Deborah Blake's books. I so far have had the most success with a spell from Deborah Blake. And I don't know why, but it's been the case. Hers work. So I go to her books. She has a spell book. I haven't read through it. I've just flipped through a variety of her books, done them, and they work. Number 7, what is your go-to book for crystals? Obviously, I think a lot of people are gonna say this one, but Scott Cunningham's Encyclopedia for Crystal, Gem, and Metal Magic. that's the book I immediately go to first. Then number 8, kind of on the same thing, what is your go-to book for herbs? Same deal. Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. Number 9, what is your go-to book for tarot or divination? Not every witch does tarot, so just like whatever your like divination thing is. Personally, my current favorite is the one I talked about not too long ago. It's like Kitchen Table Tarot. That one was a good one. I can't wait to go buy it and reread it because it was so good. Number 10, what is your recommended book for your style of witchcraft? So Druid, Norse, eclectic, whatever. What style-ish of your witchcraft would you recommend? Honestly, that one was really hard to pick. Ultimately, I settled on this one because I think it encapsulates the gist of what I mean, and that is Rebel Witch by our lovely Kellyanne Maddox. I loved her book. I'm excited for what she's coming up with next. I highly recommend you get all of the formats of that one. Like, I have the hardback edition and I also have the audiobook. She reads the audiobook, so it's just like a really, really long video from her, and it's fantastic. But like, the way she goes about her witchery, I feel like is pretty similar to mine in a lot of ways, and like the way she presents stuff, I feel like that's the closest without having my own on like the just general topic of witchcraft. I don't have that one published yet, so that one I feel like is pretty good. Number 11, who are your favorite witchy authors? Obviously, Scott Cunningham. He didn't write a whole lot of books because he died really young, but of the books we have from him, they are like my favorites. Then Deborah Blake, because again, I love her work. She has a new one coming out soon. On Instagram, she just barely unboxed her copies of it from Llewellyn, so she's like, it's coming soon, guys. And it's Llewellyn's Little Book of Witchcraft. That's another highly anticipated book too. Very excited for that one. And then I also love Silver Ravenwolf. I know she's like a fluffy witch, not everyone likes her. I don't always agree with her, but she has written some really good stuff. She's like kind of on the same tier as like DJ Conway. I trust Silver a little bit more, but then also like DJ Conway's kind of been having a comeback with the last book I read. So like, I don't know. Those two are kind of like, meh. And then of course, Kellyanne Maddox. She doesn't have a lot of books. She has one, but I do recommend it. Number 12, what witchcraft book or books are you reading? So as of recording this, which will be immediately outdated very soon because I read a lot of witchcraft books for those who are on my channel all the time, I'm currently chugging my way through the illustrated like Encyclopedia of Wicca and Witchcraft. It's a textbook. It's a literal textbook, and it is dense and it is not exciting to read through. It is really bland, to be honest, but I'll see. It's one of those that it's like, if I didn't have to, I hadn't already announced it, would I want to just DNF this because it like hurts my brain? Because like some books, they're really fun. They go through, you zoom through those pages. And then others, every paragraph, it slowly kills you because you're so bored. Because it really is reading just like a high school textbook. And I hated reading high school textbooks. I would skim those so hard. And I can't skim this because it's for a review, and it's not my favorite right now, but I'm reading it and maybe it'll get better, but it's a textbook. It's a straight up actual textbook. And lastly, number 13, what are your top 3 books everyone should read? First of all, once again, Scott Cunningham, his big one that he's known for, Wicca, A Guide for the Solitary Practitioner. I just think everyone should read that one, honestly. Again, another classic. Inner Temple of Witchcraft. I feel like everyone should read through it. I really like his magic style too. It's one I refer back to a lot. And then lastly is a recent one, but like, dude, we all need to read this book, Triumph of the Moon. It is not written by a witchcraft author, but it is like, we need to read that book. He handles it very well, even though he's not part of our community. Like, he really tried to do it very respectfully, but also like inform us, because there's a lot of misinformation on our history that he goes through. I feel like it went through a very concise, easy to follow way. It's just really academic. He doesn't mean it to be, but it is. And like, it's a hard one, but it's well worth it, and I cannot wait to read more from him, but I gotta plan time to read him. He packs a lot of words into the words that he's allowed to write. So those are my books that I would recommend. Honestly, it is subject to change because I try and read a book pretty much every day-ish, and so because of that, I have a lot that I learn about and I read about, and the list kind of adjusts. But some are just classics that I just can't not include, like Cunningham's book. Like, Are there better books written now? Probably. Is it still one that everyone refers back to? Yup, even though he died 30 years ago. So yeah, anyways, I thought this would be really fun to share and like have everyone just talk about like their like recommended books so that we can know about them, because everyone's gonna have a different list pretty much. So anyways, I would love to hear your answers. If you want to do it in the comments or a video response, make sure to tag me so I can go watch it. And I think this will be fun for the community to do. As always, a huge thank you to my patrons. I'll have their names over here. If you would like to support me and get access to exclusive content, it is patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. If you want to check out my witchcraft book, it's available on Amazon. It's called The Death Journey. It is a witchy guide to handling death, and it's practical and magical, and it's pretty good. I would recommend that one. Till next time, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.